Walking your dog without a leash, tips and best practices. Walking with your dog is a necessity. If some doggies are content with a short walk to do their business, others have to exert themselves every day during longer walks or more sporty outings. Either way, every dog should be able to relax their paws daily. While some spaces require walking on a leash, some owners appreciate being able to take their doggie out without this constraint in order to allow them to exercise freely. Nevertheless, you should know that the law imposes certain requirements in this area and that walking your animal without a leash cannot be done without prior learning of certain orders or without the adoption of certain precautions. Let's take a look at this case. Walking your dog without a leash. What does the law say? Dog walking legislation is sometimes difficult to understand. However, you should know that the law has put in place three main principles to govern it. In town, municipal decrees decide whether or not to wear a leash when walking a dog. Most often, the leash is imposed in most public places and any master who does not respect this obligation is exposed to the risk of a fine. Of course, Category 1 and 2 dogs, called dangerous, must be kept on a leash and wear a muzzle on public roads. In the countryside, it is again the municipalities that decide which rules to follow. In general, the straying of a dog, that is to say the walk of a dog without the supervision of its master, is prohibited, except for hunting dogs and herding dogs. Walks without a leash supervised by the owner of the doggie is thus generally tolerated, but making sure of it beforehand is recommended. Between April 15th and June 30th, during the wildlife breeding season, it is forbidden to let a dog walk without a leash in the woods and forests outside the forest paths. What commands should you teach your dog before walking it off leash? Before considering walking with your animal without a leash, it is imperative to teach him certain commands and to ensure that he masters them perfectly. Walk on a leash. To consider going for a walk without a leash with your pet, it is imperative that your little companion first masters walking on a leash. Indeed, if your dog tends not to listen to you and to do as he pleases when you take him out on a leash, it is not possible to imagine letting him roam free. Smells, other dogs and other animals are sources of stimulation among many others. It is therefore better to make sure before anything else that your doggie has mastered the basics by being able to follow you on a leash without risk of getting lost. Basic orders. Many dogs let themselves be guided above all by their sense of smell, and mastering them on a leash is sometimes difficult, so considering letting them go is unthinkable. Before teaching your pooch how to deal with these multiple stimuli, be sure to teach him the following basic commands: assist, lying, stop, as bouger. These lessons are essential to help you better manage walks with your little companion, on and off leash, but they will also be of great use in your everyday life. To teach them, the best method is to rely on positive reinforcement, which combines kindness and firmness, with rewards to motivate the animal and encourage it to repeat its good behavior. Remember that violence, punishment and humiliation have no place in dog training. The reminder. Recall is a basic command that should be taught as early as possible, from the doggie's first days in its new home. Indeed, some dogs tend to get lost easily, to follow tracks or congeners, to run away, to chase other dogs, animals or passers-by, thus risking being run over by a vehicle or to injure a third party, etc. It is therefore important to ensure their safety by teaching them to return to their master's feet with a simple order. Start by teaching your dog to recall. To do this, take him to a calm, secure space with few stimuli to help him stay focused on you. Your dog should be willing to listen to you, which is why you shouldn't start learning this when he's tired, hungry, or when he needs to vent, because he won't listen to you. When the conditions for adequate learning are met, you can take the following steps. Show your pooch that you have treats in hand, but do not give them. Remove the leash and let him walk away from you, while making sure to keep him in sight. Call him to make him come back to you. If he ignores you, pretend to leave. This is usually enough to bring him back to heel. When he comes to you, praise him verbally and by petting him, then give him a treat. For the recall to be perfectly mastered, you will need to be patient and renew your learning sessions very regularly. Each day, dedicate a few moments to this teaching, but no more than 10 to 15 minutes so as not to exhaust your dog. Over time, the treat can be removed, but you should continue to praise him verbally and with a pat. Always be sure to teach him to recall in a safe, unstimulating space away from road traffic to prevent your dog from running away at the slightest opportunity and putting himself or those he encounters in danger. Also, never blindly trust your pooch. Even if he is very obedient, he can refuse to obey you at any time to follow a lead that will seem more interesting to him. Walking and natural tracking. When your dog has mastered the recall perfectly, you can teach him to heel, an essential learning before considering walking without a leash. Again, go to a quiet, secure place that is not very stimulating for your pooch. Then follow these steps. Show him that you have treats in your hand, but do not give them to him. Choose the term that suits you best and make sure to always repeat it in the same way so that the order is clear and consistent for your dog: to heel, here, etc. Start walking and do only 2 or 3 meters. When your dog follows you, give him a treat to reward him. Start again by increasing the distances little by little to allow him to understand that he must follow you on foot to obtain a reward. Be patient, because this learning can require weeks of training before being acquired. Don't skip the steps. Respect your dog's abilities and be sure to repeat your sessions regularly. When he is able to master heeling, teach him natural following, which consists of teaching him to follow you without you having to give him the order. To do this, you need: go to a quiet, secure and non-stimulating space. Start walking and suddenly change direction without saying anything. If your dog follows you, reward him. If he does not follow you, hide behind a tree or a wall while keeping an eye on him and call him. As soon as he finds you, reward him. Over the course of the sessions and repetitions, your dog will be able to follow you everywhere. You can therefore plan to walk with him without a leash, in spaces that allow it and in compliance with the law. Walking your dog without a leash, what precautions should you take? Even if your animal follows you without a leash, you will still need to take certain precautions when you walk with it in this way. Indeed, remember that an obedient dog can at any time turn its attention to another source of stimulation and refuse to listen to you. So never relax your attention and be sure to follow our recommendations to preserve his well-being and that of those he may encounter. Your dog should always be within earshot. Never let him get too far away from you. Always keep the leash in hand so you can attach it immediately in case of an emergency. Avoid the proximity of roads and paths on which bicycles can circulate. Do not let your dog